The yoga had a very hard definition at the beginning, that this is the cessation of fluctuation in the consciousness that almost 100% of beginners cannot access to in a practical way. And it is divided in three, that is tapas, that is tapas or jaya nishvara pranidhana, which mean will force, willpower, the presence of the intelligence, the whole intelligence, not just the intellectual one, and finally the dissolution of a conceptual individual self. All these three together define a yoga action. Okay. Anyway, it is very difficult to apply. It is possible to apply it, but it's very difficult. So there is another division into 8. There is the Ashtanga Yoga, the famous Ashtanga Yoga, which goes from yama, that is an observation, an internal observation of the behavior, niyama, that are characteristics that we begin to develop when we observe the first one. Okay, asana is the work with the body. Pranayama, that work with the breath in order to understand and feel what is the energy flow. Then we have pratyahara, that is a control of the energy we move by the sensorial canals. And finally dharana, that is concentration. Dhyana, that is not too well translated as meditation. And finally we got samadhi. Samadhi is a total absorption from the individual into the action without filtering with the mind what is happening. So it's a total presence of a self-conscious into the action. So the yoga can be defined as a wonderful travel from the individual self that is full of partial concepts that are all the time there filtering the information, okay, to a universal being in which as there is no filtering process, the pure presence of in the action let the human feel the action and what is living without the partial concepts that would situate them into different groups or different way to do it, or different tools, or different whatever. This involves, of course, all the humankind, and this involves, of course, all the universe and all the phenomena as they take place, as they are, not with judging thoughts or partial filterings or whatever. So this trip begins on the simple yama, that is an observation, and it's very good to do a parallelism between this and the way that Patanjali writes on the Yoga Sutras in 4 chapters. The first chapter is dedicated to Dharma, that is, to understand what do I have to do and how do I have to filter that actions into what I think that is okay or not internally. Okay, we should receive that information when we are kids. We are beginning to enter the life and to be introduced in all the human relationships and whatever. And we continue when we know how to work with our behavior. Okay, we begin to understand what do we would like to do and what is good for us to achieve. When we need the means to do it, the means to do it. Okay, and this to get that is the second chapter. That is sadhana, the practice of yoga that begins with Ashtanga Yoga, with asanas and whatever. Prepare yourself with the tools you need to achieve what you want. Okay. The third chapter is a chapter that is about the Vibhuti chapter. Is about the enjoyment of what you are achieved, or while you are achieving what you were at the beginning proposed to, you begin to enjoy it. Okay, so you begin to be like 20 years later or 15 years later, integrating what you were practicing, and you are observing what is occurring in the human life and real human life when you apply that. And the fourth chapter is about is a transcendental chapter, in which when you find out finally, or you achieve what you wanted, you begin to relativize that. Okay, so you transcend it. You are not attached to what you have get it, but you get it. Your inner development and your inner evolvement process takes you further than the achievement of that, and that is samadhi. Samadhi is when you are not attached to your concepts, when you are not attached to your way of do nothing, but you are just doing and enjoying it. And you begin to live in a real present without the limitations of your thoughts, and with a great comprehension of another way of do the same thing, and to relate with people that could be too much different to you. So it is to live a whole present and to live free of all the limitations. This is yoga about. Swadhyaya and why is the presence of the intelligence, the presence
multiple intelligence
of yeah, exactly, the equilibrated intelligence. And the third one is the Ishvara Pranidhana, which means the dissolution of conceptual individual self.
Because that might be an easier, like if I just go with those three rather than pull pieces out of the 8 limbs, maybe we can just go with those, like willpower on our actions is kind of aligned with the TGS core values, then multiple intelligence is creating well-rounded kids, and then the conceptual dissolution really connects to the anthropology.
Yeah, and they are ordered by difficulty. Mm-hmm. First of all, you have the will to do something, and this is it, right. Because you are not intelligent enough to understand it. Then you repeating and understanding what you need. Your intelligence is more and more present, and finally you are able to do it without the attachment of your concept of a thing. Then you are doing yoga. This is in the whole life. You can be sweeping the floor, or you can be speaking about something. If you are doing and you are strongly attached to yourself, you are not doing yoga. You are just filtering it by your personal way of doing the thing. Okay, it's very difficult to do a whole yoga action. That's why we use an asana in which the tension of your muscles brings your mind and get a great concentration because of the effort you're doing in the exercise, and perhaps repeating it a couple of times, you will do something without just the individual point of view. You begin to feel in a different way. It's very difficult for beginners to understand the third part, but anyway, it's there. At least conceptually speaking, it's there. For beginners, especially when you're very young, we're speaking about freedom. We're speaking about I want to have free. I want to be free to choose this or that. It's very important to understand that we get to realize when we are doing a conscient action and when we are reacting. A reaction is an action that the conscience got nothing to do with it. So it's a stereotyped answer for the mind to something. For example, if I take always chocolate, no matter if I have the opportunity to choose the flavor I'm going to eat, I will take chocolate. And you see, you think you are free because you are deciding what you want, but really your mind got an enormous inertia and it's taking the chocolate. Sometimes it's good to think if you are doing something consciently, or you're just letting your mind to do inertially what it wants. So before, keep the speech of the freedom. It's very good to observe every day, every time we can, be aware of what we are doing, if we are really choosing or if we are doing an inertial action, because nobody can give you the freedom. You get to obtain by your own way of think and by your own way of conscious movement. Okay, nobody can establish something free. You get to feel yourself free, and you get to do something freely and free from your own conscience. This is yoga about. All the definition of yoga is a trip, is not just the travel of the individual self to the universal self, it's also travel from the reactions to the conscient actions. When you're really conscient, you have really the space to choose, not the false space to choose, but the real one, then you're free. no matter if you are in a jail. If you have the real way to choose, then you're practicing yoga.